Welcome back to another Sunday walk video. I am off site today, but it's beautiful out and I want to talk about Bitcoin and crypto. Give you guys a little recap of what happened last week and what to expect this week, because it's going to be enormous this week. A lot of volatility, and it could go both ways this week. So let's talk about what happened last week. A lot happened last week, actually very similar to what I expected, but it wasn't all that great. The prior week before last week, we had a really good recovery week. Earlier last week, we had a pretty good recovery, right? We saw Bitcoin touch upon 80s, 88, 87 a couple times. And overall broader market and tech overall recovered. It seemed like, at least it was reported, that Trump was going to relax a little bit on his tariff stance, and Wall Street was buying back. And it seemed like things were good until reality hit. Last Wednesday, Trump placed the 25% tariff on all foreign cars, or all cars that's not being made in the US, and that kind of dampened the mood once again. And then we got an inflation reading on Friday, and that dampened the mood even more. And I kind of talked about these things the prior Sunday walk video, and I said, hey, these events, especially the PCE inflation report, probably gonna bring volatility, because it's not gonna be good. I mean, unless it came in better than expected. Oh, and plus we had a GDP report too. Unless these things came in spectacularly, meaning inflation somehow went down and GDP actually went down. Actually, in this case, inflation, GDP went down would be a good thing. And tariffs, if the stance on tariffs actually relax more, it'll be good. But, none of those things happen. The exact opposite, right? And because inflation actually went up, it ticked up even higher than expectation. GDP actually did not go lower than expectation. And tariff scare continued forward. The latter half of the week was not good. And we gave up a lot of the gains that we had earlier in the week and prior week. So that was unfortunate, but doesn't mean all is lost. I know Bitcoin came back down, and right now it's like back to 82,000, right? So we're still holding the 82s. It's unfortunate we couldn't hold in the mid 80s. We bounced up to 88, 87 a couple times. I wish we could have stuck above, 85, and that would have been a better position, but we're back down to 82, unfortunately. But still, we're in the 80s, and this was a place we were before. Seems like 81, 82 is like a really good solid support for us, but we'll see what happens this week. And a lot of the alts, even though like XRP, Solana, Sui, AVAX, Chainlink, they had really good gains earlier in the week, gave up a lot of it toward the end, but not all of it. So that's also encouraging. And basically, I showed you guys last week a lot of buying still from long-term holders, from the whales especially. ETF inflows were all positive for basically 2 weeks. So these things are still great. It's just that Wall Street, once again, the broader market sold off because of tariff scare and bad economic data. And this week is going to be more of the same. In fact, this week may be even more volatile, because this week is Liberation Week, so to speak. All the tariff stuff that Trump has been threatening or will be imposing will be coming this week. That'll be Wednesday, April 2nd. What is it, Wednesday or Tuesday? Well, it's April 2nd, so I don't know if that's Tuesday or Wednesday. And he purposely didn't want to do April 1st for obvious reasons. But So we'll get a better understanding of the reciprocal tariffs. Again, last week, earlier in the week, we heard that he may be more relaxed on some of his stance. I don't know if that's going to be true. If he does come in more relaxed than not, the market could react very well to it. But if he just imposes a whole bunch of new tariffs against countries like India or Japan or South Korea, a lot of the countries that we trade with, and many other countries that maybe we don't even think about, if there's a whole bunch of new tariffs being placed, markets will probably not react positively. So it's all leading up to that. That's why Trump himself called it Liberation Day. We'll see what happens. So leading up to it, I expect broader markets to be kind of iffy. Until then, we'll see. Who knows? Maybe the week will start out in the green because of how oversold it is from the last 2 trading sessions. But I think Wall Street will be more careful than not, and they will probably wait it out and see what happens with all the tariff stuff. So that's coming. I think that's Wednesday. And then on Friday, we're going to get more economic stuff. We're going to get a new jobs report and unemployment report. Of course, that's going to be very big as well. Everyone wants to see, is unemployment going up because of all the layoffs? All the layoffs we've been hearing from Doge, from the Treasury Department, from the Department of Education, from the IRS. We're hearing about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people getting laid off. Are we going to see that reflected in the latest unemployment report? And then also, the total number of jobs added. Is that going to come in very, very low for last month? Or is it going to show that the economy is still doing okay? These things are going to be very important. Wall Street's going to be looking at it. So again, this is one of those big things. And I believe Powell and many other Fed presidents will be speaking on Friday as well. And I think all these speeches or press conferences will be on Friday. So again, that'll be really important. So bottom line is, this week, prepare for a lot of volatility. Doesn't mean it has to be bad. I'm not saying it has to be bad, but usually in weeks like this, when we have to prepare for big economic data and or big events, okay, like in this case, Liberation Day, generally speaking, markets get spooked, they overreact, and they're negative for the most part. Very rarely do I see these events and they're very positive. I'm just gonna be honest. So in my opinion, it's gonna be hard for me to imagine that this coming week is gonna be very green. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this week will be very, very green. But I think this week is gonna be more red than green, and Wall Street's gonna do a lot of overreacting. But with that said, none of the things I've said about Bitcoin's future and Bitcoin's fundamentals and overall where crypto is heading for the remainder of this year changes. The big whales, the long-term holders, are definitely still loading up. I showed you guys data over and over and over again. Those data has not changed. Those of you guys, again, that understand about Bitcoin knows how important it is to load up while you still can, because it is so scarce and there's only so much of it. And one day it's going to be at a price level where it's basically impossible to acquire a significant amount of it because of how scarce it is and how expensive it is. And as for the rest of crypto, we know the landscape is changing. I mentioned about all the SEC cases, the new crypto czar, and the other cabinet appointees. They're all working towards more favorable regulations and changing the landscape of crypto. these things are still in play. So no matter what, I'm staying positive, and I hope you guys do too. I know when we go through these bad times, a lot of people turn very miserable, very fuddish. A lot of people love to spread fear and start trolling, and hopefully you guys stay strong. Okay. Like I said in my previous videos, I don't believe that we will see a full recovery, full bull run status until we get some easing. And I don't think that's really going to happen until May or June timeframe. Honestly, I think things will continue the way they are until we hit a point where then the economy either gets so bad or markets get so bad or we get some kind of clarity or something. Then we get quantitative easing, then we get rate cuts, then capital injections come in, and then the markets start roaring back. And I think that's going to come either May or June, which is not that far off considering we're going to start April soon, right? So you just have to stay strong. We're going through one of these rough periods, and who knows, things may turn back sooner than expected. Maybe way sooner than expected. Maybe even in April, right? But the important thing is not to give up hope, stay strong, and continue to hodl and DCA if you can. That's really it. All right, guys, smash it a like, subscribe to the channel. Like I told you guys last week, I am traveling this week, so my schedule is going to be very different this week, but I'll try to get you guys updates as much as I can, and continue to do so this week. All right, have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.